Can't sleep. Welcome to Lost in the Maze, number 22, the solo show only on the Billionaire Podcast Network. Ka-ching, bing, 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 bing. Did he fill her up? I I cannot sleep right now. And somebody asked me the other day, a fellow reached out to me on Instagram. I'm not gonna blow up his spot. I'm not gonna say his name, but he reached out and asked, "When is Lost in the Maze coming back?" And or he said, "Is Lost in the Maze coming back?" And I said, "I'll start doing it again soon." And so that is now that I'm doing it again. This is I guess technically this is live, but I don't know. I don't really expect anyone to show up at this hour, but this is how I've been doing things lately is live streaming for whatever audience might happen to want to be here live. Um yes, it is an odd hour. Okay, there are folks here. So we'll see what happens. Yes, it's a very odd hour. I can't. I haven't been able to sleep. I haven't been sleeping the last several days. Um, Something's happened to me. I'm not sure what, but yeah, it's. What time is it right now? 3:53 a.m. on the East Coast, Eastern time, the standard by which we measure all time. Um, and something's happened to me lately. I just got over a pretty nasty bout of COVID. I had contracted the novel coronavirus, COVID 19, and it completely laid me flat for several days. And so in that time, I was mostly incapacitated, which was a reflective period for me once again. I suppose it brought back for me, it brought back that feeling of helplessness that I felt following my mental break, which I don't know. I've talked about that a lot, and there's been some he's and haws made at my expense regarding that here and there from my cohorts, which is to be expected. It's fine because it's something that I've repeated many times. I'm sure it can be I suppose it can become wearisome to have to hear about it so much, but it's you know that what happened to me is the single most pivotal anything that's ever happened in my life or probably ever will happen. Completely derailed and changed the course of my life, and I still, to some degree, to a large degree, struggle to make sense of it and actually find the put it into words um and talk. I don't know, talk about it in some way. Because it was it was a very debilitating thing that happened to me. I don't. Do you ever wish your vocabulary was better? Was bigger? Someone in the chat, CDUM, says, "Have you washed that shirt since Wednesday?" No, I have not. Um, I'm very slovenly and slothly. I'm not taking good care of my hygiene, And so that, yeah, I have been. I should take a shower and wash my clothes. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's a lot of time I wish I wish I had a better vocabulary, or at least was better at, as I'm speaking extemporaneously and off the cuff, better at finding the words I actually want to say, because I feel like the word thing is just a like a placeholder. It's something that I would use in place of the word I actually want to say. It feels like a very lazy word to use, just saying the word thing. But the psychotic break I experienced was a bad thing that happened to me. And it is, it is difficult to thank you. Yes, the thing is, yes, and it is difficult to like put it all into words, and I mean, is it even something that who would even want to hear about it, right? Because I mean, for me, it's consumed my life for so long now. What's happened, but maybe it's only something that's interesting to me. Or I feel like maybe if I could figure out the right way to talk about it, it could be enlightening and helpful for other people. But I haven't really figured that out yet, because I still kind of even now exist in the chaos of it all, in the or the wake of it, at least in the rubble caused by the destructive force that was my mind going haywire. um and sometimes it it can keep me up at night. um I mean, there's far less that can cause a certain amount of trauma in a person. Um, and so I would imagine that that's something else I got to work on, is reducing the amount of uhs and ums in my speech. I think most people don't think about it, or don't pay it much mind, the amount of filler that they use when they speak. Uh, um, like, and then swear words is a big one. Fucking, things like that. And it's something I've always been cognizant of. It's something of which I have been aware for some time now, because my senior year of high school, I took a one semester class that was required called communications, or something like that. It was a communications class. I forget exactly what the school called it, but it was taught by a fat bitch named Miss Stevens, who was very mean, and I did not like her that much. However, something she taught us that was i- informative, and that has always stuck with me, is that when speaking, your speech has more gravitas, is more powerful, is more engaging when one that speaks reduces the filler within their speech. Uh, um, like swear words, things of that nature. Embracing rest and silence, speaking deliberately and practicing discernment as one speaks with the words one uses can be more impactful. And the issue that arises these days is everyone everyone's minds are fried, completely scattershot and cracked out from the ever shortening window that what do you call it? Entertainment content exists in. Used to be that if you wanted to catch up on the news, right? If you wanted to stay abreast of the current events of the day, your options were the newspaper. That's uh, for the gentleman, for the scholarly gentleman who wishes to really oh, there it is. For the guy who wishes to really ingest the news, he would pour over that day's paper, the Times, and absorb the news through reading, right? Or you had the news on the television where you still were at the mercy of the programming, of the news that was on TV and the manner in which it was delivered, which would be a half hour spoken with a certain rhythm by the anchors in order to fill the half hour, right? And then as time has gone on and we've grown accustomed to endless an endless stream of information and entertainment and content, it it became not enough to read the paper or watch the half hour news. At a certain point, nobody wanted to read anymore anyway. And then a half hour of news was not enough. An hour was not enough. We needed 24 hours. Even then, watching a 24-hour news station, you still were subject to the sensibilities of like Bill O'Reilly or whoever the anchor might be. So there was still a manner in which they spoke and presented the news and everything that was becoming more sensationalized, but still within that programming was to fill an hour, right? And so you had to be focused and if you're my dad, the TV is at full volume, Bill O'Reilly screaming, and that's the next hour of your time. And then after that, it's Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, and whoever else was on the news on Fox News in those days. And then I don't know I don't know when the change started taking place or what's happened, but Now information is instant and constant and endless and infinite and exists in an endless stream of microbursts. So the way I'm speaking now, which what I'm doing right now is an attempt, an exercise in being more deliberate with the way I speak, would be considered unacceptable and boring, I would say, by anyone who has grown accustomed to the way the way that folks receive information nowadays, which is similar in the way that a computer itself transmits and receives and processes information milliseconds at a time, nanoseconds, instant. And people have forgotten that the our bodies, our spirits, I think, I think, if I'm to philosophize for a minute, are not meant to engage with stimuli in that way. It's a computer, right? If you're running your computer at all the max settings, you're trying to play what's a game everybody plays now? I haven't kept up with gaming. It was Cyberpunk. Let's say that 2077. You're trying to play it on max everything, so that it's the biggest and best that it can look and sound. If your computer is not, I don't know how much hardware can handle that. You're going to end up overclocking your computer because it's trying to process so much so quickly, for your enjoyment, but it can't handle that workload, and then it's going to overclock, and the entire thing is going to crash. Wukong, yes, Black Myth, Wukong, the monkey video game. I have not played that yet. I have not played a video game. Forgive me for uh, using this phrase after saying monkey video game. I have not played a video game in a coon's age. But the micro burst method by which we have grown accustomed to engaging with the world is anathema to our spirit. We, I think, as people, are to sit, be still, observe, be patient. They say life is short, but is it? There's a lot of time. We got a lot of time on our hands, and I suppose if one is always thinking big, if one is always zoomed out and looking at the grand timeline of the universe, then you could come to the conclusion that the 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years that you have on this earth, yes, that is a short amount of time relative to the entire history of all existence. However, relative to our perception of time, there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time to to experience life. It's enough time that there's people out there who are playing are on their third and fourth, fifth playthrough of games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or one of these Dark Souls games. There's people out there. How dare we? How dare we have the gall to make the claim that life is short, and then there's so many of us spending our time spending hundreds of hours replaying a video game we already played, or rereading a book we've already read, or watching The Office all the way through again, or watching Goodfellas again, which that's never a waste of time, to be honest with you. That if you watch anytime you watch Goodfellas, it's like, you know how they say the Bible is a living book, that you always learn something from the Bible, and it's more fulfilling and rewarding each time you read and reread a passage from the Bible. That's what it's like to watch Goodfellas. So that is an exception to what I'm referring to, I suppose. But there's a lot of things that I would say we engage with where we are just completely wasting time. And yet we still have so much time left. So is it that life is short, or is it that we're just wasting most of the time we have? And then there at the end it's like, oh, this feels like it was pretty short, but all things considered, it was actually pretty long. I just didn't make much use of the how much time there was. This is not a waste of time, what I'm doing. This is meditative. This is actually engaging with life in a meaningful way. As silly as that sounds, I do think there is some value in taking a moment to sincerely explore these thoughts, especially in a time of, what would you call it, post modern, post modern, post irony. I don't even know what anything is supposed to be called anymore. I guess it was always irrelevant, these categories that academics try to place moments of time into. It's just life, and it's usually not that much different from the way it was. You know, it can seem like it's very different, but I think fundamentally people are much the same as they were 100 years ago. We just have modern life that we uh, engage that we have to contend with which we must contend. the the tedium and minutia and sufferings of modernity, right? The new iPhone is coming out. Gotta clock in for work in the morning. Gotta clock in. There didn't used to be time clocks. You just would show up at your job. Now you have to log on to an app and enter that you have arrived at work so that the company knows you were there, even though your manager and everyone you work with sees that you're there. You have to let the app know that you are indeed at work. um, which feels very frivolous and feel silly to have to drive all the way to work and show up, wave at your boss. Everyone knows you're there, but you got to make sure that you sign into an app. And God forbid you work for one of these companies that requires you to use Microsoft Authenticator. So then you clock in for work on one app, and then the app tells you, okay, now open the smartphone that we just assume you have, that you have to provide yourself, your personal smart device phone, and open the Microsoft Authenticator app, and then key in this number to now officially finally clock in for the day to let the company know that you're at work. That right there, just being at work on time, what that entails now is enough to drive anyone to madness. If you actually stop to think about it, they want us to not think of it. They want us to never even consider what's happening. This is the way things are, and this is the way things are to be, and how things are done. You go to work, you sign in on an app, then you pull your phone out, sign in on another app, and now you've clocked in for work finally. These tedious tasks, just superfluous nonsense tasks that you have to complete throughout your day before you even actually work your job. This is designed to chip away at the will of the human spirit. This is designed to drive us, maybe not insane, but to keep our necks firmly pressed into the ground under the heel of modernity and corporate America. Why should I have to do anything more than show up on time and say hi to my manager? I'm here. I'm at work. You see me here? Look at the clock. I will be here for the next 8 hours. And then every job, by the way, any job you get now, they tell you it's an 8-hour job. It's not. An 8-hour day is actually 9 hours, because they don't want to pay you to eat. They don't want to pay you for your lunch. So every job, unless you're, one of these fat cats that gets to live in comfort and not be driven insane by your job, most every job now is going to have you work 4 hours and then clock out. So now you have to go back into the app to let them know you're clocking out. And then you got to go back into Microsoft Authenticator to let that know that you're talking to the other app and that you're trying to clock out. And now now after working for 4 hours, you clock out and you have a 1 hour unpaid lunch break. So now you have 1 hour that for which you are not getting paid, that you have to yourself to presumably eat and fuel up so that you have enough energy to complete the day. But here's the thing. Eating a meal is meant to be a time to fuel oneself and enjoy a meal. It's a moment of communing with this earth and the universe, and what am I trying to say? It's something to be enjoyed. A meal. Time, it's something where you don't. It's not to be a stressful endeavor having a meal. However, when you have a 1 hour unpaid lunch break, now time is of the essence. Now, depending on where you work, you have to either have brought a lunch with you, like grade school, go into your lunch pail and pull out your bologna sandwich and your banana and high C and sit in a break room if you work in an office, hunched over and just desperately trying to get this food inside of you so that your tumbly doesn't rumbly for the rest of the day. Or and by the way, if you choose that option, you are now at the behest, you are now subjected to the musings and horse shit that your coworkers are going to bother you with which they will attempt to bother you. Just having to make talk with these people that you don't even want to see necessarily, while you're just trying to have a meal to yourself. They're gonna come in there and say, "Oh, you got any big plans for the weekend?" Or did you see this movie or watch that show or see this in the news? What do you think of this? Or, oh, good lord, what miserable lives these people lead. They want to talk to you about work while you're on your lunch break. Yo, fuck off with that. When I'm not on the clock, we are not talking about anything. I hope the company goes bankrupt. If I'm being honest with you, I have no stake in this place. They pay me $14 an hour, and they won't even pay me for my lunch break. I hope everyone in any leadership position at this company jumps out of the fucking window. I hope the whole thing goes underwater. You think I'm going to struggle to find another job that pays me virtually nothing? No. I'm staying here because it is a pain to have to go look for a job, but this is not secure. It's not providing me financial stability. It's doing nothing for me than giving me some kind of stream of income, and I don't have to look for a job right now. But you think I care if this place stays afloat? Absolutely not. I hope the whole thing catches fire. Don't try to talk to me about that while I'm eating. That's if I work in an office. I work from home these days. I do podcasting. So that's one option if you eat your lunch in the break room. The other option is to go to a restaurant. And the way most cities are designed, that's about a half-hour drive to the nearest restaurant. If you were to be discern, if you want to eat at the place you actually want to eat at, you can go to the nearest restaurant, which is like a Subway or a Wendy's. Sure, that's what walk right across the street to go pay for food that you don't even want. Sure, but if you want something more highfalutin or more to your taste, like a Jersey Mike's or let's say a Popeyes, something that's maybe further away. Now you got to drive to that restaurant, and that's at least a half hour. So now you have an hour in which you a half hour now that devoted to just driving to the place. Now you have to order the food. And the whole time, hey, as you're ordering, it's going to be a half hour drive back to the office. So now, as you're driving back to the office, you're trying to eat this meal that you just ordered, this entire big Italian sub sandwich from Jersey Mike's on the drive back to the office. It's a very stress. This entire endeavor is extremely stressful and not conducive to what a meal should be, which is to reinvigorate oneself, to sit down and appreciate the bountiful feast that God has blessed you with. No, this is a moment in which you are desperately trying to eat the food you have paid for and have it inside of you by the time you show back up at work. And then once you get back, no time to digest the food you've gotten, no time to sit with it, let it let it work its way through your innards, feel the your health bar replenish, and then walk back into the office restored anew. No, as soon as you pull up, you throw the Jersey Mike's wrapper in the floorboard on the passenger side, and then and yes, so someone in the chat mentioned my idea of highfalutin is Popeyes. I couldn't think of what's a highfalutin. What would be a highfalutin place? Sweet Greens. How about that? $20, $22 salad. There you go. I've done that before. You ever do that? By the way, you ever do that? You ever go out on your lunch break and spend more than you make in an hour on your lunch? And so that is, hey, many such cases. That's such a life for many of us nowadays. I've done that so much in my life. Just frantically trying to finish a meal within the 1 hour that I'm allotted, in which I am not getting paid, before I have to go back to work. And then now I got a belly full of Jersey Mikes. The last thing I want to do after eating that much bread is have to click clack away at a keyboard. And yet that's what I'm doing. Nodding off while all this white bread is inside of me being metabolized into sugar. So sleep. I suppose I should eat a better lunch. Or yes, as C-dumps, they get a better job. I've never been good at it. I've never been good at getting jobs. I've always been woefully underemployed and employed at awful, awful, miserable places to work. But maybe that's just my personality. Maybe that's my rotten attitude. Take a lot for granted, My dad was somebody who never believed in himself, always kicked himself when he was down. And so, due to that, he didn't graduate high school, right? Got a GED. And so, always felt that he was undeserving of anything good ever, and just took whatever work he could get, which for a long time amounted to prison guard. And so, he just did that forever. His day in and day out, clocking in and going to work, was getting actual human shit thrown at him by inmates, and being in constant threat of physical violence due to his not coworkers, but whatever you would call the prisoners, the subordinates, the people he had to manage. And so, how spoiled of me, right? How rotten of me to complain about the things I complain about when after the sacrifices that my own father made for his family, for myself and my mother. I mean, when he eventually left that job and got a better job, still working he was a federal prison guard, right? So he ended up getting another job, being able to transfer within the federal system, got a job as a different kind of police officer guarding money. They got a place in Fort Worth where they print money called the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, where that's where he ended up working for many years after the prison. So he went from complaining about black fellows throwing their shit at him, or mentally ill inmates cutting their own nuts off, whatever, the day in the office at a prison is like, to then complaining about just how boring the job was at this the money place in Fort Worth. It's like, come on, make up your mind. It seems like this is what you would have wanted after 15 years of getting shit thrown at you and getting punched by inmates and having to subdue unruly prisoners. Wouldn't you prefer boredom to that? But no, it's like Apocalypse Now. When I was there, I wished I was here. When I was here, I wish I was there. I just never could find any sort of inner peace. And that's the same with me, I suppose, but to a much more pussified degree. You know, because these days I literally I don't have to go anywhere to make money. I work, I could work from home. I could do podcasting. Just everything I want to do, I can just do from the comfort of my own home. But sometimes, a lot of the time, I find myself, um, really desiring the chaos of being anywhere else. Man was not made to live like this. To live in the constant comfort of what modernity provides. We were meant to toil. We were meant to struggle and suffer and exist in some kind of chaos. But well, maybe I'm contradicting myself. I guess it's that. Did you ever read that? See, there I go again. Um, that Taliban email. I think about that. I don't know if it's real or not, but the Taliban email about when the Taliban guys had to go start working in an office. Listen to this. Hold on. It says here, what does this say? In our ministry, there's little work for me to do, said Abdul Nafi, 25. Therefore, I spend most of my time on Twitter. We're connected to speedy Wi-Fi and internet. Many mujahideen, including me, are addicted to the internet, especially Twitter. Where's the actual email though? Oh, I gotta find the actual. You see what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, there was some email that went around a few years ago when the Taliban had to start working like 9-to-5 jobs where they were basically said, you know, we miss riding horses with our bros and just traveling the desert and having to just going on grand adventures. Now, life arguably is more comfortable, but this sucks. It is, to the synopsize what this email is. I don't know if that's a word. Summarize what this email said, to paraphrase it. But that is what a lot of just modern life feels like, is the just the sort of existential suffering that comes with structure and endless comfort. Ennui. And this goes back to what I said earlier. There's too much time. There's so much time to just sit around and twiddle our thumbs and tap our fingers on our desks. To so much time to think, and it just causes all this undue anxiety and stress when we should be out riding horses and driving Toyota Hiluxes across the desert. In this country, this oppressive regime under which we are subjugated will not even let us have the Toyota Hilux. The Taliban, the Muslims in Saudi Arabia have more freedom than us in that regard. They get to drive Hiluxes. We're not even allowed to have them here because of some strange taxes and lobbying and regulation that says trucks have to be big as shit and not good. So the best you could get here is a Toyota Tacoma, which is way too big and not even and maybe as efficient or as powerful as the Hilux, but not as fun and certainly not as indestructible. They won't even let us have that here. Sometimes I do feel like in another life I would have reveled in the camaraderie of driving a Hilux across the Arabian desert with my Mujahideen brethren. How did I get on? How did I get on all this? I can't sleep. I haven't been able to sleep. And it's 3, 4. What time is it? 4:38 a.m. Eastern time. I've been reading more. I have been trying to take the time to not just scroll and endlessly consume mindless content and actually sit down where I'm usually laying down and reading. So I got I got books loaded up on my phone. I got the e-reader app, one of these apps on my phone. I use an app called Pocket Books. And it's nice because I could just lay in any position I want. I don't have to you know maneuver with a paperback or a hardback. And trust me, I am a tactile. I'm an enjoyer of a physical book. There's pros and cons with each one, with each um, well, manner in which one can read. And so, with a physical book, it is it's nice. Feels nice to hold it in your hands and flip through the pages. But there's got to be a light on. You got to sit in the right position, and you have to wield a book. You know, whereas on your phone, granted, it's you're relegated to whatever the size of your screen is, and the LED light can be kind of a strain. But that the fact that it's lit up is nice. You just sit in a dark room. You don't have to go to get up and turn a light on. And I got an entire library on my phone that I didn't have to. By the way, that I don't have to pay for. I'll be damned. I'm not gonna. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna go on to this Kindle store and pay full price for the digital version of a book. I could understand paying a reduced price for an EPUB file or a PDF file, but if it's going to cost as much as the physical version, I'm taking to the high seas, if you know what I mean. And so I got this entire library on my phone. I ain't got to pay for. And I get to lay there and read, bang out 10, 20 pages just while I'm laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep. So instead of scrolling, I open up this app and I'm reading now. I am, attempting to engage in more scholarly pursuits as a man of letters. Which is nice. I've always enjoyed reading, and it feels good to be able to read again. I was messed up for a long time. You know, when I was going through my mental break, I was reading a lot. My mind was hyperactive. I was in overdrive, and I was able to really focus and just tear through books and like hone in on literature and TV and movies. It was a really strange experience because that aspect of it, I wish I could recapture that feeling of being able to really engage with art in that way and news and information. I felt like I was really tuned in and I was hyper focused and I was reading a ton and watching a ton of movies and reading the news all the time. The problem was I thought that I in doing that was receiving messages beyond the text itself. And I don't mean subtext. I mean I thought that God was talking to me through books and the TV and that I was had become a transmitter for the divine. And so from there, I then had to go out into the streets and spread my gospel and proselytize to the world the thoughts I was having, which, put myself in various precarious situations that could have been um, a threat to my own personal well being. That was a very difficult time because that part of it felt great that height, like the active mind that I had and the creativity and connected feeling I had with life itself was really incredible. Everything else was very destructive and dangerous. And then after that, it felt like the tether was cut. That whatever I was experiencing that felt that connected feeling was completely um you know was cut, and so I felt disconnected from life after that and fell into a deep dark abyss that has taken me quite some time to find my way out of. And I still feel like I am feeling my way through it and trying to crawl my way out of whatever this has been, this dark, empty, lonely place that I found myself in following the manic psychotic state that I was in. And that's where it's difficult to piece it all together because there was a frenetic and chaotic series of events that occurred when I was in that state of mind. And then following that, I was pretty much brain dead. And then coming out of it, it feels as though I've had to relearn how to actually exist and engage with life and the world in any sort of meaningful way. What does this say? What are the warning signs you're aware of to avoid slipping back into mania? So somebody asked me that earlier today. They asked me if I was manic because I suppose I was exhibiting qualities that were reminiscent of that time. I don't feel as though I am going back into mania right now. I feel like what's happening to me at this moment, and I think part of it has been spurred on by having had COVID and being like kind of debilitated again, and then recovering from that, and now another rebirth has happened, uh, getting over COVID, and now there's this desire that I find that I wish to live, not only survive and exist, but live a bountiful, rousing, exuberant existence. And that can seem manic because I would say, I do have to make sure that I am aware of myself and where my mind is, and be on the lookout for anything that might be leaning that way. That might be, you know, a state of mind that is like slipping back into mania. I think what I have to look out for is like I don't know if hyperactivity is the word, because I think it's good to be at least active. I don't know, maybe not hyperactive, but to want to read and watch movies and TV and go for walks and do a bunch of things. But I suppose I would say if I start to feel myself having thoughts of, like, that I'm gonna, in doing these things, that I'm gonna change the world somehow. The thoughts of like these grandiose thoughts that I was having at the time, that in everything I'm doing, that I'm somehow going to, I suppose I think the word I'm looking for is like the like messianic thinking, that in everything I'm doing is for the purpose of becoming important and becoming this, almost like hero of some great story. To this thought, this way of thinking, that is like that I am the, protagonist of a grand epic adventure. Um, because that was like the big manic thought that I had during that time. And so if I ever start like thinking that way, that's when I have to keep myself in check and go, hey, unfortunately, you're not as important as you think you are or want to be. You're just some guy, and so do the things you want to do for the betterment of yourself, but don't don't think that that all of this is to then become, some sort of, divine, hero. Because then that's how that's how you become, like David Koresh or something. I like this. This thing that Neon Gutters just said. Heroes exist in moments, not lifetimes. That sounds cool. Uh, God's note in the chat is really trying to enable me. I'm trying to think of the warning signs of mania, and God's notes over here saying, maybe, hey, maybe you are the, Messiah. No, no. I mean, I like to think that I possess like some sort of ability that, uh, my skills lie in oration, so speaking. That, I like to think I possess some sort of ability that provides like some kind of enjoyment for people, and maybe can be helpful for anyone who hears what I have to say. But I understand that I am a very, very minuscule, part of something much, much greater than myself, and that I am important in as much as the people in my life believe me to, want me around. you know I'm important to myself and the people who care about me in that way, but I'm not like, if I ever start thinking that I'm like actually important again, that I'm, gonna provide like the message to people that's going to lead them to any sort of some kind of salvation. That's a very manic thought. So there's that. I would say not sleeping. That's a big one. So something to be concerned about right now. Get that I haven't been able to sleep, but I have odd hours anyway. So if I were to go to sleep right now, even at this hour, I would still get 7 hours of sleep before I got to wake up and get ready to clock in for work. So I still keep a relatively healthy sleep schedule. Um, but yeah, sleep is a big one because when I was manic, I was sleeping maybe like an hour or two a night. What else is there? Um, I don't know how to describe it, but like this like connective, like I don't know how, like, connective thinking. However, I'm trying to think how to describe it, but this like manner of thinking that like everything is connected, like connecting dots everywhere. Where it's like the Pepe Sylvia scene in Sunny in Philadelphia, where just like everything I'm observing is connected to everything else, and Lee is part of this like grand something I'm trying to uncover. That's not, that's a there's a lot of markers to look out for. So I suppose when I think about it, these are the things I got to look out for. Um, Unfortunately, if I do actually ever feel like I'm going manic, there's no way to stop it. Like if it's actually coming on, it's going to come on, and if I tell anyone about it, then they're just going to, then I have to go back to the psych ward. So that sucks. I don't ever want to go back there, but I guess that's for my own good. But that's the only thing that you could do. You can't, if you can be aware that you're heading into a manic episode, but there's no way to do. It's not like sneezing where there's ways to stop yourself from sneezing. It's like if you were going manic, it's like, well, it's about to happen, and then you just have to go check yourself into the worst place on earth and just stay there for like 2 weeks. Anyway, uh, I think this has been a good exercise in something. Somebody asked me if I'd be doing these again. Lost in the Maze, the solo show, which I suppose is different from the Bible study I do every Saturday. That has a more singular focus, even though that's also pretty meandering. But the Lost in the Maze is a, I don't know. Let's taking a ride inside through my twisted mind, or it's an exercise in expository oration. So I think this was a resounding success. So thank you to the folks who tuned in. No super chats, unfortunately, but I didn't ask for any. I'm just happy that you were here with me. So thank you. I love you. I gotta go. I'm gonna go check my Robinhood app now. Actually, you know what? Before I get out of here, let's go ahead and take a look at some tickers. Or I'm just gonna look at it real quick and let's see what things are looking like. Fuck!